Make no mistake, if Trump wins again, a national abortion ban will be the ultimate goal. That is the ultimate goal. But look at this right here. Steve Bannon once called for Vance to become head of the Heritage Foundation. Those are the guys that created Project 2025. You got to wonder about this guy. Who is bankrolling JD Vance and why? Because somebody has put a lot of money into this guy. He is deeply connected to the Heritage Foundation. And Peter Thiel, I mean, it really seems like JD Vance is the real Project 2025 connection. He's definitely connected to Kevin Roberts. Dude, that's scary. Right there, dude. The fact that the Heritage Foundation is the de facto institutional home of Trumpism. You got Kevin Roberts saying he is absolutely going to be one of the leaders, if not the leader of our movement. Roberts said, yeah, dude, he is a legit threat. I mean, I'm telling you right now, guys, seeing some of this stuff, it seems like the Heritage Foundation's goal is to use Trump to get Vance into power. Vance does not support abortion exceptions in the case of... How? That's mind-boggling. How can you be opposed to the exception for... You believed a woman should be required to deliver the rapist baby? Like, bro, that's unconscionable to me. That is so pro-rapist. That is the most anti-woman stance you could possibly have. Of any stance you could have about women, there is no bigger anti-woman stance that you could have than forcing a woman to deliver this baby. This is so crazy. Think about this line. Dude, Vance is opposed to expanding healthcare access to all Americans. What? How could anybody be a political leader in the country if they are opposed to making sure that all Americans have access to healthcare? Like, what kind of world is that? That is some crazy shit, dude. This is really interesting, dude. Vance said he would support banning abortion even in the cases of rape, incest, calling rape inconvenient. In a local news interview published Wednesday, author and venture capitalist turned Senate candidate JD Vance suggested he would support prohibiting abortion even in cases of rape and incest and dismiss those catalysts as inconvenient. It's not whether a woman should be forced to bring a child to term. It's whether a child should be allowed to live, even though the circumstances of that child's birth are somehow inconvenient or a problem to the society. Dude, it's so gross. When he says here, even though the circumstances of that child's birth are somehow inconvenient or a problem to the society, he doesn't even talk about the woman. Look at that. He's saying, oh, if a child's birth from a rape is inconvenient to the society. But what about the raped woman? What about her existence, her trauma? The question to me is really about the baby. We want women to have opportunities. We want women to have choices. But above all, we want women and young boys in the womb to have a right to life. Dude, that is so beyond toxic. He values what's in that womb more than he values the woman who the womb belongs to. Isn't that weird? We want women and young boys in the womb to have a right to life. I know, fetuses, but isn't that weird that he puts young boys and women? Like, what is he fucking talking about, bro? He is so creepy. Look at this, too. He compared abortion to slavery. JD Vance compared abortion to slavery in an interview last fall, drawing a controversial parallel between America's original sin and a procedure that until recently was a constitutional right. There's something comparable between abortion and slavery, and that while the people who obviously suffer the most are those subjected to it, I think it has this morally distorting effect on the entire society. Vance, the GOP nominee for an open Ohio Senate seat, said in an interview with the Catholic Current last October. Vance then referenced Abe Lincoln's quote, "I would not be a slave, so I would not be a master," before arguing that because of abortion, many Americans have begun to see children as inconveniences to be discarded instead of blessings to cherish. Now, here's where I take issue with this. is because he talks about children being blessings to cherish. But why won't they pass any fucking gun laws? If children are blessings to cherish, why is it when there's a school shooting, they say we need to get over it and pray about it? Why don't they cherish the children when they're dying to gunfire? Why don't they cherish the children and feed them at school? Why don't they cherish the children and make sure they have access to health care? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's literally a huge situation there. He himself has said he is not a proponent of children having access to health care, all Americans having access to health care. But he says that children are blessings to cherish. This is the same guy who, like, told his kid off for having the Pokemon cards. Dude, shit is wild, bro. And he says, I really think abortion has really done something very socially destructive to us as people and how we see the most vulnerable and the most dependent among us. Vance continued, I think that's one of the underappreciated facts about abortion. It has really distorted our entire society. Now, in fact, though, this is bullshit. The one thing that abortion has done is it's put more women into positions of power. That is one thing that abortion has done. Like women CEOs and women going into government, women owning their own businesses, women doing more than being, homemakers and moms. As definitely abortion and women's right to abortion, being able to choose when and where they have a family, has had a huge impact in that. Now, I don't think it's had a destructive nature in the viewing of kids at all. If anything, it's improved, I think, many people's relationships with children because they've gotten to choose when they want to have them and not being forced. I mean, that's just one of the things. Like, prior to a woman's right to choose, prior to birth control, a woman gets pregnant and then that's it. Her lot is set. You know what I'm saying? The irony of this is, if I were to read into Vance's words here, where he says, I think that's one of the underappreciated facts about abortion, it's really distorted our entire society. I do believe that for him, that is true. I think in his eyes, society is like men working, men having the power, men holding the positions of importance, and women being the child raisers, women taking care of the kids and being supported. I mean, look at Donald Trump's whole, I will be the protector of women. I think that is the distortion that is really prevalent to these guys, is now there are women who have power. There's a black woman who's about to win the presidency. There is a huge, huge change that has happened by women deciding to not get saddled with kids. And that hasn't prevented any women who want to be mothers from having kids. Women get to choose the life they want. Do you want to have kids? Do you want to be a mom? Do you want to have a family? They get to choose that. Do you not want to do that? Then they get to choose. And now what's really interesting, guys, is we got to take a sideline, because I feel like this video that I saw the other day is really about this, where this video is about the patriarchy. This video right here is truly interesting. Patriarchy is private, for-profit ownership of women, with women being the means of human production. This is so accurate. There's a factory that generates human beings. That factory is women. Now, historically, what has happened is men are at the top of this capitalist food chain. They are controlling all of the industry. They are controlling all of the government. And then the women are just birthing machines that generate more people to be their soldiers, to be their employees, to be their tax base. But the women never had any rights or power. And it's like so accurate that this whole men being in power is even a level above capitalism. Like, capitalism serves the patriarchy.
Patriarchy is the private, for-profit ownership of women, the means of human production. Capitalism is the secondary thing. It all grows from patriarchy. Capitalism is the private, for-profit ownership of the means of economic production, right? It all stems from patriarchy, though. That's what happened first. Men decided private, for-profit ownership of women to absolve themselves of labor and work. That it is so effing lazy. It's infuriating, right? And so when we're seeing, when they want to rescind abortion rights, they want to remove birth control, they want to rescind no-fault divorce, they want to repress women's vote, right? All of this is intentional.
Yeah, they want to turn women back into baby generating and caring for machines.
Voting against all social infrastructure that supports the needs of meeting human needs, right?
Yeah.
They are intentionally do not.
There's no child care, no health care for mothers and children. They don't want a good educational program, access to education. They don't want any social programs that benefit children or mothers or families. But they want the creation of families and children. And why? Why would they? They want an endless supply of people to go be laborers. They want a supply of people to go into the prison system and be free laborers, et cetera, et cetera.
Want to invest in this because they want women to continue being the sole infrastructure of meeting human needs. Okay? This is all intentional.
It's toxic.
And, men will bitch and moan. I work 40 hours a week. I can't. I'm so helpless. I can't participate in my own home. No. They are aware of the work and labor of it all. They refuse to do it because they want to keep working 40 hours a week and trap a woman at home to work 100 hours a week to be the entire infrastructure of family, community, childcare, elder care, everything. So
taking care of the man too.
Programs. Because society was built on patriarchy and capitalism, the material extension of patriarchy. None of it is about meeting human needs, certainly not women's needs. Nope. So they want to privately own a woman to meet all of their needs, work around the clock, make sure they have a nice house, healthy meals, healthy kids, whole shebang bang. And the best way to trap a woman in that scenario,
get her
because
pregnant.
No one actively chooses that.
Get her pregnant.
To work 100 hours a week, unpaid,
you get them pregnant.
Unreciprocated care, unreciprocated everything.
This is what my dad did with my mom. I know it sounds crazy to drift into sort of personal story, but my dad met my mom and she had 6 kids, okay, from her previous husband who was a disaster. My mom was a single mother with 6 kids. My dad met her and he wanted to get in a relationship with her. And she kept saying, no, I just got out of this relationship. It was a bad divorce. My ex-husband is crazy. I have 6 kids. The last thing I want to do is get into another marriage. You know what my dad did? He did what most men did in the 60s and the 50s. He got her pregnant. And then she was trapped in another marriage. That's how he got her. That has been the way men get women for generations. It's like they start dating someone, they get her pregnant. Once she's pregnant, they get married, and then she's trapped in this life of having kids. But that's been the way they always do it. Get women pregnant.
Right? No one would actually choose that. So you got to trap her with the baby. Got to trap her. And then she's working all the time. There's no infrastructure of support. She cannot leave the house. Well, then you can do whatever you want because you can rescind access to resources necessary to keep that baby alive. Because men are willing to hurt their children to maintain control and ownership of the mother because they are addicted to exploitation.
That shit is crazy. And it is not inaccurate. She is spot on. And here's what I said about this, too. It's also eerie when you consider greedy capitalists like Elon Musk, who constantly focus on birth rates. I know you've noticed that. Elon Musk always talking about birth rates. Birth rates. We got to have birth rates. We need to increase birth rates. Birth rates are cratering. Birth rates. Why is he so focused on birth rates? Because in order for him to maintain his billionaire status, those guys need tens of thousands of people being born all the time. They need workers. They need laborers that they can exploit. If birth rates start to fall, the number of potential exploitable workers becomes super problematic. They need a constant rejuvenation to the supply of workers. It's so toxic. Vance said, not right now when asked about a national abortion ban. If elected, would you support a federal ban on abortion? This was from 2022. And Vance says, my view on this is to let the states try to figure this out for now. Ohio has a heartbeat bill. I think that's a good bill. Florida's gone a slightly different direction. Virginia's gone a slightly different direction. I think it makes sense right now to let states decide stuff. And right now, states are moving into pro-life direction. I think that's a good thing. But he said, not right now. Not right now. I think right now we need to let states figure this stuff out. The ruling is new. The laws are new. The legal regime is new. And what the Supreme Court, I think, really gave us an opportunity to do was to focus on this at the state level. It's just, again, though, not right now. So you know it's on tap. It's just a matter of when. The national abortion ban with these guys is not an if. Okay, it is a when. Here's another one, though. JD Vance suggests people in violent marriages shouldn't get divorced. Dude, this really pisses me off. I'm going to read this again. Vance said people need to be more willing to stay in unhappy marriages for the sake of their kids, and seemed to suggest that in some cases, even violent marriages should continue. Dude, that is not good for the kids, okay? Unhappy marriages are not good for the kids. This idea that staying in an unhappy marriage is somehow a benefit to your kids, it is not. It is not a benefit. This idea that divorce being a bad decision is pretty toxic. And it's pretty in line with what they're doing with birth control and with abortion, and especially with Project 2025.